My name's Kara Miller. I'm 32 and I'm an estate lawyer. My job's basically figuring out who gets what after someone dies, the house, the stocks, that worthless painting nobody wanted. 5 years in, and I've never had a single interesting case. Until my own marriage turned into a cold case. My grandfather passed away 5 years ago. He left me a trust fund, but with a catch. I had to be married before I turned 30. Not find a partner, get married, legally. It was there in black and white. When the lawyer read it out, I thought he was joking.
He wasn't.
My grandfather was old school. He believed a woman who wasn't married was a failure, so I went through an agency, one of those companies that provide actor services. I paid $2,000, and they sent me a resume. The guy in the photo was 32, dark hair, gray eyes, with this faint half smile. His profile said Ethan Black, freelancer, no criminal record, available for legal marriage services. I picked him, not because he was good looking, but because his profile had one line, doesn't ask questions. On the day of the City Hall wedding, he showed up 10 minutes early in a navy blue suit.
He stood there with his hands in his pockets, staring at the photos of past mayors on the wall, looking perfectly at ease.
When I walked in, my heels clicked against the marble floor. Clicked against the marble floor. He turned and glanced at me. It was just a quick look, but he smiled. Not that fake professional grin, more like a, I know you're not thrilled about this either, but hey, let's make it work kind of smile.
Kara?
He extended his hand.
Ethan.
We shook hands. His hand was warm, and I could feel a thin layer of calluses on his palm, not the kind from holding a pen, more like from gripping tools or equipment. I noticed, but I didn't ask, because his profile said doesn't ask questions, and I figured I shouldn't either.
The ceremony lasted all of 5 minutes. The judge asked, "Do you?" "I do."
So softly, like he was afraid of waking something up.
Intermediary. We exchanged rings. He pulled 2 plain silver bands out his pocket and said the agency had provided them.
I put mine on, and it fit perfectly. His fit perfectly, too.
The inside of the rings was smooth, no engraving. They didn't belong to any story, just to this transaction. Want a photo?
No.
Then I'll head out.
Okay. He left. I stood outside City Hall with our marriage certificate in my hands, the sun so bright it stung my eyes. I was married to a man whose full name I didn't even know. But I didn't care, because it was just a deal. The certificate felt heavy in my hands, the edge of the gloss paper sharp enough to nick my fingers. I folded up and stuffed it in my bag, right next to all those estate files. It was just another contract. The first year we were married, we saw each other 4 times. First time, tax season. He brought his income statements, I brought mine. We sat in our accountant's office for 40 minutes. Barely said a word. Second time, a family gathering. My grandfather's lawyer was coming to verify that our marriage was legitimate.
Honey.
He called me honey at the party, poured my wine, held my coat for me. When his hand brushed shoulder, it was so light, like he was afraid of breaking something. What kind of work do you do?
Freelance.
What field?
All kinds.
When he answered, the corner of his snout changed. It wasn't a smile anymore. The third time, my birthday, he didn't call ahead, just showed up at my door. He was carrying a paper bag with a potted orchid inside. The flowers were purple, small, petals so thin they looked like paper. He stood in the doorway, the street light falling across his shoulders, pulling his shadow long behind him. What's this?
Birthday present. The agency said married people are supposed to give gifts.
What's this?
Birthday present. The agency said married people are supposed to give gifts.
You didn't have to.
I know, but your file said you like flowers. You don't like them, you can throw them out.
I didn't throw them out. That orchid sat on my windowsill. When the 4th flower opened, I took a photo. Work email. The salutations were Dear Mr. Black and Dear Miss. I never deleted those emails. 4th time, he came to sign the renewal. Our marriage contract was renewed annually.
Do you want to keep going?
Do you?
I don't mind either way.
Then we keep going. He left. I stood by the window. There was a scratch on the rear bumper. I noticed the scratch because I had one just like it. By the third year of our marriage, I figured something out. He wasn't a freelancer, he barely worked at all. His income statement showed a steady deposit every year, labeled consulting services. I had no idea who was paying him, but the amount was exactly enough to live on, no more, no less. Not so little it raised red flags, not so much he'd ever have to look for a real job. He lived in a tiny apartment on the south side near the airport. I went there once, not to see him, but to drop off a document he'd forgotten to sign. It was drizzling that day, rain streaking the car windows and blurring the street lights. The apartment was in an old building, with sound-outdated lights in the hallway that only came on if you stomped. I stomped twice. The lights flickered on, dim and yellow, showing peeling paint on the walls. His apartment was number 204. The door was cracked open. Jazz drifted out. Saxophone, rough and gravelly. I knocked. He came to the door in an old t-shirt, his hair messy. He blinked when he saw me, surprised. Forgot to sign this.
Oh, come in.
I didn't step inside, but my eyes darted past him. The living room was tiny, a couch, a table, a stack of books. No photos, no decor, no plants. Just one black suitcase propped in the corner, a frayed old luggage tag on the zipper, the writing faded. It looked like it was packed and ready to go at any minute. He signed the paper and handed it back. You travel a lot?
What?
The suitcase. He glanced over at it, hesitated. It was only a split second, but long enough for me to see his fingers tighten.
Force of habit.
He walked me to the door. The elevator arrived. I stepped inside. As the doors slid shut, I saw him standing in the hallway, thin and still, and then the lights went out again. The elevator descended, and the sound-operated lights flickered on one by one, then went dark again behind me. 4 years into our marriage, our relationship shifted in subtle ways, not because of love, but because of habit. He remembered I drink my coffee black, no sugar. I remembered he never eats cilantro. He started signing his emails with best regards. I started adding a small smiley face after my name. We began taking the occasional phone call, not for work, just to talk. There were brief silences on the phone sometimes, but they never felt awkward. It was like two people reading under the same roof, quiet yet sure of each other's presence. One night, I work-tied until very late. When I'd zoke the Belsa building, his car was dosed at. The window was rolled down. A faint glow from the radio spelled out playing jazz as always. I walked over and knocked on the car window. The window rolled down slowly. He sat in the driver's seat, holding a paper cup of coffee. There were coffee stains on the rim. He'd been drinking it. What are you doing here?
Just passing by.
Your office is on the south side of the city.
I know. It's not safe for you to work this late. Let me drive you home. Let me drive you home.
Were you waiting for me? He didn't answer. He simply handed me the coffee.
It's cold but still drinkable.
I got in the car. The air inside smelled faintly of coffee mixed with cedar car fragrance. He played an old song. I didn't know the title, but the melody felt familiar, like something I'd heard on the radio long ago. Outside the window, streetlights blurred past one to one. Ethan. Why do you do this job?
What job?
Pretending to be someone's husband. He fell silent for a long time. The car turned into my residential street, where dim street lamps cast flickering similar shadows across the car body.
Because I needed the money.
Everyone does.
My reasons are different. Carla, some truths are safer for you not to know.
I got out of the car. He didn't leave until I walked into the apartment building lobby. I didn't turn around at the door, but from my second-floor window I watched his car lights fade into the night. The taillights shrunk smaller and losser until it was just a tiny red knot swallowed by the dark night. In the 5th year, when it was time to renew, he didn't show up. He mailed the signed contract via courier. He did it himself. The package was wrapped in brown paper, the corners folded perfectly. I called his number, no answer. Emailed, no reply. I went to his apartment, 204, the door was locked. The hallway light was broken. I stamped my feet twice. Nothing. I knocked for a long time, my knuckles against the wood a dull thun. No one answered. The hallway light was broken. I stamped my feet twice, nothing.
He moved out last month.
Where to?
No idea. He left in a hurry, only took that one black suitcase.
My fingers tightened around my phone. My fingers tightened around my phone. I filed a police report. A young cop came. He talked fast. He checked the system, his fingers clicking away on the keyboard, then his brow frowned.
No record.
What do you mean?
This identity doesn't exist. Social security, driver license, passport, all fake. Your husband is a ghost.
I froze. Not exist? I've been married to him for 5 years. How can he not exist?
Ma'am, are you sure you actually got married?
I have a marriage certificate.
That's real. But the identity he used to register was fake. The marriage is valid, but your spouse is fictional.
My hands were shaking. 5 years of marriage, 5 years of contracts, 5 years of birthday gifts. All fake? No, the flowers were real. The orchid was still blooming on my windowsill, its purple petals as thin as dragonfly wings in the sun. The flowers were real, but the man who gave them, he wasn't. I took time off to investigate on my own. As a parade lawyer, tracking people is part of my job. I combed through all his emails, texts, and call logs. 5 years data flooded the screen line by line, just like medical files. His number and social media were all deactivated. He was like a ghost, appearing and vanishing without a trace. I tracked down his only acquaintance, not a friend, just his former landlady, an elderly woman living in South District Ray Cats. When I arrived, the cat did had with now differing and had shout to speak.
Ethan from for me for 5 years. Such a nice, quiet, never late on rent. Before he left, he even weed my garden for me.
Did he say where he was going? Not a word. But a week before he moved out, a man visited. Black suit, sunglasses, looked dangerous. Ethan's face turned ashen the second he saw him. What did that man say?
I overheard one line. He told Ethan, "It's time for you to leave."
My blood turned cold. This wasn't a breakup or debt trouble. Someone forced him to disappear. I searched for the man in the black suit. Most surveillance tapes were overridden, but I found a clip from the corner convenience store. The footage was blurry with flickering static. A tall man in a dark coat hurried into the apartment building. His stiff military-like posture screamed agent. Before entering, he glanced back to check for tails. Federal government. Ethan was no ordinary man. I stared at the blurry screenshot, cold chills running down my spine. I started going through what he'd left behind. There wasn't much. He'd cleaned out almost everything, but there was a cardboard box in a corner of the apartment that the lady had stored in the basement. The box was worn, its edges rubbed white with a faded shipping label still stuck on top. I carried it home and set it on my kitchen table. Inside, there were no photos, no letters, just one notebook. Black cover, worn at the corners with tiny handwriting inside. Not a diary, records, dates, places, names, like a checklist. Kara Miller, March 1520, City Hall, and a checkmark next to it. My name. Our wedding date. Checked off. Second page, Lucia Mendez, June 2021, Cafe. Also checked. Third page, Victor Moretti, September 2022, Hotel. No checkmark. My finger stopped there. Victor Moretti, I'd heard that name. The head of Chicago's biggest crime syndicate. Wanted by the FBI for a decade, never caught. He ran drugs, guns, money laundering. Hundreds of men under him. Ethan had been watching him. Was Ethan with the FBI? An informant? Something else? I took photos of the notebook and sent them to my PI friend. She shot back, "Kara, you'd better stop digging. Some things, once you know them, you can't un them." But I couldn't stop, because I realized most of the names in that book were Moretti's people. Ethan had been tracking them all along. He was a witness. He was in the FBI's witness protection program. I drove to the FBI's Chicago field office. The building was gray, its glass walls reflecting clouds. The door was heavy. I had to push hard. A young woman in uniform sat at the front desk. I need to speak to someone in witness protection. What's this regarding? My husband is missing. I think he's one of your witnesses.
She asked me to wait.
40 minutes. The clock on the wall crawled slower than my heartbeat. A man in a dark suit came out. He was in his 40s, graying hair, deep bags under his eyes. When he looked at me, there was no surprise in his eyes.
Kara Miller? I'm Agent Hart.
My husband! My husband!
Let's talk inside.
He took me to a small, non-conference room and closed the door. Bare walls, except for a one-way mirror. I couldn't see through it, but someone might have been watching.
Ethan Black is our witness. That's not his real name. We built that identity for him. Last year, his cover was blown. Morotto's people found him. We had to terminate the plan early and move him to a safe location.
Where is he?
I can't tell you.
Is he safe?
He's safe, but he can't contact you anymore, and he can't use the name Ethan Black again.
What about our marriage?
The marriage is real, but he can't come back as that person. If you want a divorce, we can help you file.
I don't want a divorce.
Why?
Because he's the only person who remembers I take my coffee black. First month after Ethan left, I packed his belongings into a cardboard box. Journals, our marriage certificate, and that postcard note. The postcard arrived much later. There was nothing from him that entire month. I was nothing from him that entire sweater. The Thaddeus orchid was still blooming. I repotted it with fresh soil and added fertilizer. Its roots dug deep into the dirt, pushing out brand new shoots. I watered it every morning, and each night carried it over to the windowsill so it could soak up the moonlight. Are you still waiting for him? No, I'm not. Yet I kept the orchid alive anyway. She just stared at me, not pressing the matter. She's always been sharp like that. On the second month, a package showed up at my door. There was no return name, no sender's address, only a single line printed on the front, for Carlos Miller. My hands shook as I tore it open, the packing tape ripped with a loud, sharp sound. Inside was a postcard. The front featured a beach, Sabermeyer blue ocean, pale white sand. On waves glint right, only one short line. An entry sloped, like he worried I might struggle to read it. He was back there summer front, gazing at endless stretch, still blue sea. Or maybe not. This was just a check-in, a quiet way to let me know he hadn't vanished for good. I stuck it to the fridge with a fridge magnet right next to its pot. The fridge hummed steadily while the flower bloomed silently. That postcard stayed pinned there for a full month, its edges slightly curled from the warm kitchen air. Agent Hart came to see me again. This time, his expression was heavier. He sat across from me in my office, his fingers tracing idle circles on the desk.
Moretti's people found Ethan's new identity. He has to move again.
For how long?
Could be a long time.
Can I see him just once?
No.
Why?
Because if you're together, because it'll get him killed.
I went quiet. He was right. Ethan's cover had been blown because Moretti found his marriage record with me. That 5-year-old marriage was his only vulnerability. That was me. I was his vulnerability. My hands were under the table, my nails digging into my palms. What if I file for divorce?
Moretti won't believe it. He'll just think you're playing the part even better.
Then what can I do?
Nothing. Wait for him.
How long?
I don't know. Maybe a year, maybe 10, maybe forever.
I saw him out. I stood by the window and watched his car pull out of the lot. It wasn't like Ethan's car. This was a black SUV, no scratches. But I stared at that exit for a long time. My own reflection stared back at me from the glass, my lips pale. I started having trouble sleeping. Every night I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling. There was a crack in the ceiling, left over from a heating leak last winter. It looked like a question mark. I asked myself, why are you waiting for him? You don't even know his real name. You don't know what he really looks like. Well, you do, but that face is fake. When he smiles, that's Ethan's smile. When he drinks coffee, that's Ethan's habit. But he's not Ethan. Ethan is a person who doesn't exist. I opened that cardboard box and pulled out the notebook. On the last page it said Kara Miller with a check note. Below it, in tiny handwriting, she takes her coffee black. The writing was light, like he was afraid someone might see it. Tears rolled down my face. Not because he remembered, because I remembered him. I remembered the way he walked, short steps, but steady. I remembered his voice, low, raspy, like he'd just woken up. I remembered that old song he played in the car. The saxophone sounded like it was sighing. Those were real. His identity was fake, but his habits were real. His smile was real. I decided not to annul the marriage. Whether he was Ethan or someone else, that marriage certificate was real. He and I signed it. He and I left our fingerprints, not an agency, not actors. Us. I held that marriage certificate in my hands. The paper was thin, the print faint, but it was there. My fingers traced over the surface, feeling the raised edges of the embossed seal. I started looking into the Moretti case. Not for revenge, I just needed to know what Ethan was hiding from. I went through every public record I could find, news articles, court documents, FBI wanted bulletins, newspapers piled up on my desk. I read them one by one, reheating my cough so many times it barely counted as coffee anymore. Victor Moretti, 62, Italian-American, drugs, guns, money laundering. He had hundreds of men under him and dozens of lawyers on retainer. He'd never been convicted, not because of lack of evidence, but because witnesses always disappeared before trial. Disappeared, not went missing, vanished. Some were bought off, some were threatened, some ended up dead. Their names show up in the back pages of newspapers, small print, died unexpectedly. Ethan was the only witness who'd survived. Because he went into witness protection, because he had a fake identity, because he'd spent 5 years playing Ethan Black. He played it so well I almost believed he was real. Maybe it wasn't just acting. Maybe over 5 years, part of him became real. That part, it was love. I wasn't sure, but I wanted to believe it. Rain tapped against the window, blurring the city lights outside. Agent Hart came back. This time, he had news.
Moretti's case is going to trial soon. We need Ethan to testify.
Then he can come back?
Not necessarily. Moretti's network is still out there. Even if he's locked up, his people won't let Ethan go.
Then how long does Ethan have to keep hiding?
The rest of his life.
The rest of his life. That meant forever. It meant he'd change his name, his face, his city. He wouldn't come back. He wouldn't contact me. He wouldn't drink his coffee at exactly 78 degrees. He'd forget about me. No, not forget. Pretend he didn't remember. He agreed to testify?
He did. But he had one condition.
What are his conditions?
He wants to see you one last time.
The meeting was at an FBI safe house, not in Chicago, but some small town I'd never heard of. A 6-hour drive through cornfields, farmland, and a handful of stoplights. The corn was tall enough to block out the horizon. The radio picked up nothing but static. I turned it off, leaving only the wind noise and my heartbeat. The safe house was an ordinary white house with a hanging spider plant on the porch. Its leaves had gone dry. Agent Hart led me inside. The living room had just a couch, a lamp, and one person. He was sitting on the couch in a gray hoodie, no hood up. His hair had grown longer, and he hadn't shaved. But his eyes, they were still the same. Dark gray, quiet.
Kara.
Ethan. I walked over and sat across from a coffee table between us, and we just looked at each other. The lamplight was dim, casting his shadow on the wall like a silhouette. You've lost weight.
So have you.
So have you. Is your orchid still blooming?
It's blooming. 6 flowers this year. He smiled. It was brief, but real. Just like that day at City Hall. Just like every time he pretended he didn't care.
Kara, I have to go. This time it's for real.
I know.
I don't know if I'll ever come back.
I know.
I don't want a divorce.
Neither do I. He reached out and took my hand. His hand was still warm with that thin layer of callus. The callus were thicker than they'd been years ago. What he'd been doing all these years. Maybe carrying a gun, training, running. He didn't say, and I didn't ask. We spent the whole night in that safe house, not talking, just sitting. He never let go of my hand. Sometimes he'd squeeze tighter, then loosen. Like he was checking I was still there. The lamplight pulled our shadows together, making them look like one shape. The wind outside was strong, rattling the window frames. In the distance, a dog barked, one long howl after another, like it was coming from somewhere far away.
He put his hands in his pockets and stared out at the darkness.
Kara, if I ever make it back, will you wait for me?
Yes.
And if worse, I don't.
Then I'll come find you. He turned and looked at me. In the lamplight, one side of his face was lit, the other in shadow. He turned and looked at me. In the lamplight, one side of his face was lit, the other in shadow. The line between light and dark cut right across his eyes.
You can't. It's too dangerous.
If you tell me not to, I won't. He lowered his forehead, almost touched mine.
Kara, do you know my real name?
No.
Do you want to?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm already used to calling you Ethan. I can't change now.
Then keep calling me that. I'm used to it too.
Just before dawn, Agent Hart knocked. He pushed the door open, holding a cup of coffee. It was steaming, with droplets of condensation on the paper cup.
Time to go.
Ethan stood up and walked to the door. He paused, but didn't turn around. His back was straight, but his shoulders were shaking just slightly.
Kara, coffee, no sugar.
I know. The door closed. His footsteps faded down the hallway, first on the hardwood, then on the stairs, then nothing. I sat on the couch, staring at the door. The coffee was still on the table, still steaming. White whisks of steam rose into the lamplight, then dissolved. I picked it up and took a sip. 78 degrees. He remembered. There were dents on the cup where his fingers had gripped. I couldn't cry. The tears welled up, circled, and receded. I got home. The orchid was still blooming on the windowsill. The 6th flower had opened, tiny and purple. There was a drop of water on one petal. Could have been dew, could have been from watering. I watered it and wiped the leaves. The dust was thin. I cleaned them slowly, one by one, with a damp cloth. Kara, have you been crying? No. Liar. It's windy. The windows in the office aren't open. I said nothing. She handed me a coffee. 78 degrees. How do you know? Because someone told me. She left. I held the cup. The sides were burning hot. Ethan had told her. When? I didn't know. But he'd already planned the goodbye. He'd even arranged the temperature of my coffee for all the days to come. The Moretti trial began. The news was everywhere, headlines calling it the trial of the century. I saw Ethan on TV, not Ethan actually. A different name, a different face. He was wearing glasses, his hair cut short, dressed in a navy blue suit. His voice had changed, his tone, his expression. He was a whole new person. When he testified, he said,
I saw Moretti give the order to kill.
The way he said it, it was exactly the same as when he said coffee, no sugar. Calm, certain, no hesitation. Tears rolled down my face, not because of him, but because I finally knew. He was real. His testimony was real. His fear was real. His courage was real. His name was fake, but his life was real. The glow of the TV flittered on my face. He looked into the camera for a moment. I don't know if he was looking at the lens or at me. Moretti was sentenced to life in prison. On the news, they showed him being led out of the courtroom in an orange jumpsuit, his face blank. Reporters swarmed him, cameras flashing. He didn't say a word. His eyes scanned the cameras, like he was searching for something. Maybe for Ethan. But he wouldn't find him, because Ethan was gone. On the day of the verdict, I got a letter. No return address, no sender, just one line, Kara, it's over. It wasn't Ethan's handwriting, it was typed. Plain A4 paper with slightly crinkled edges. But he knew I'd get it. He knew I'd read it. He knew I'd understand. I folded it and put it in that cardboard box. Right next to the notebook, the marriage certificate, and the postcard. The box was full. The box was full. I replaced it with a bigger one, blue. Not because I had more things, but because the days were getting longer. I went back to normal life, work, home, eating, sleeping. The orchid bloomed, then faded. When the petals fell, they dropped one by one onto the windowsill, dried up and curled. Then it bloomed again, purple, tiny. 5th year, 6th year, 7th year. I changed offices, moved to a new apartment, bought a new car. But that orc was still there, on the windowsill, in the sunlight. Its roots had filled the pot completely. I'd repotted it 3 times, split it into 2 plants, one at home, one at the office. When I split them, I carefully separated the roots, worried I might hurt them. The soil in the new pots was dark and rich. You're not growing flowers. You're growing hope. Maybe. Are you still waiting for him? I'm not waiting, but I keep it blooming. In the 8th year, I got another postcard, not from Florida, from Maine. Not a beach, a lighthouse. It was white, standing on gray rocks with its beacon like a star. On the back, it said, "This lighthouse is still lit." It was his hand griked it. The letters were pressed harder than before, deeper strokes. I put it on the fridge, right next to the first one. The fridge was full. I bought a bigger one, side by side, not because I needed the space, because I wanted room for more postcards. Even though there were only 2. Year 9. Moretti died in prison. Heart attack. It was a small segment on the news, quickly buried by other stories. But I saw it. I stared at the screen. His name scrolled across the bottom. Victor Moretti, dead at 71. He was dead. The man who'd been hunting Ethan was dead. His men, scattered, arrested, convicted. The Moretti family had fallen. His empire was in ruins. His enemies had moved on. Ethan didn't have to hide anymore. I called Agent Hart. I'd had his number for 9 years, never once dialed it. Moretti's dead. Can Ethan come back?
In theory, yes. But he has a new identity now, a new life. He might not want to come back.
Tell him I'm still waiting.
I'll tell him.
He hung up. I stood the window, phone in hand. The orchid was blooming. I waited a month and heard nothing. Then 2 months, 3 months passed with 0 word. The phalappus bloomed again, tiny purple blossoms. I sat on the windowsill staring at the flowers. There was a faint vein-like line running across each petal. I brushed it lightly with my finger, and the petal trembled softly. My phone rang. It was an unknown number. A string of digits lit up the screen, with an area code I didn't recognize. I answered the call.
Carla.
I froze completely. It was his voice, not the voice of the witness I saw on TV, not just handwriting on a postcard, his real voice.
Low and a little raspy, like it was traveling from miles away.
Ethan?
I'm back.
He was at the airport. I drove straight to pick him up. My hands shook the whole drive, making the steering wheel wobble, and the tire scraped harshly against the curb. But I didn't stop the car once. Red light, green light, red light, green light, light, on a loop. City lights streaked past the windows like winding rivers of color. Once I reached the airport, I stood by the arrivals, watching the glass doors. They slipped open and shut on a loop.
Crowds swarmed through, people hugging, waving, rushing by without pause. Rolling suitcases rumbled heavily across the tile floor.
Then I saw him. He wore a gray hoodie with the hood down, clutching an old suitcase in his hand.
His suitcase was dark blue, tied with that beat-up old luggage tag. The writing on it was totally illegible now. Gray strands streaked his hair, a stark patch of white right at his temp.
Deep wrinkles lined his eyes and mouth, years etched into his face. But his eyes were still the same ones I knew. Dark gray, calm and quiet as ever. He locked eyes with me through the crowd. He walked over to stand right in front of me. No hug, no tears from either of us. We just stood there, gazing at each other.
He set the suitcase at his feet, its wheel wedged in the crack between floor tiles.
Carla.
Ethan.
No sugar in my coffee.
I know. He moved into my apartment. Not rented, he moved in. Not temporary, permanent. He put his suitcase in the corner, opened it, and took out a few clothes. They were folded neatly, edges perfectly aligned. He didn't have much. A jacket, a notebook, one photograph. The photo was of a woman with short hair, smiling brightly. It was me, from 10 years ago, before I'd even met him. When had he taken it? I didn't know. You stole my photo?
Not stealing, preserving.
When did you take it?
The first time you came to my apartment. You stood at the door, you didn't come in. But I took a picture.
You already cared about me back then?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Yes, I cared about you back then.
He told me his real name, not Ethan, a different name, 3 syllables. Ordinary, like the boy next door. I tried it a few times, but I kept getting it wrong. Because that face was Ethan's. That smile was Ethan's. Those hands were Ethan's. You can change a name, but you can't change a person. Then what should I call you?
Whatever you want.
Ethan.
Okay.
He smiled, brief but real. I'd known him for 10 years, and it was the first time I felt like he smiled without a weight on his shoulders. No tension at the corners of his eyes, no stiffness at the edges of his mouth. Ethan, are you leaving again?
No.
You sure?
I'm sure. Because Moretti's dead, his people are gone, his case is closed. I've been everywhere I could go. But this is the one place I never left.
Then stay.
Okay.
We started living like a normal couple. Mornings together over coffee, brewed it, I added sugar. He'd heat my milk, I'd toast his bread. He never used a thermometer for the milk, he just tested it with his finger. We worked during the day and cooked together at night. No cilantro in his portions, extra chili in mine. He washed the dishes, I wiped the table. The clink of plates and choppers, the rush of water in the sink. One day, he was chopping onions in the kitchen, and they made his eyes water. He wiped them with the back of his hand, which only made it worse. I stood in the doorway, watching his back. He looked thin, his shoulders a little slumped, but he kept chopping, focused, one slice at a time. The onion rolled on the cutting board, so he held it steady with his hand. Ethan.
Yeah?
Do you regret it, taking that agency's job all those years ago?
No.
Why?
Because that $5,000 bought me a lifetime. Kara, witness protection gave me a new identity, a name, a new life. But they couldn't give me a home. Only you could do that.